Yeah. So we have done what? Tax audit. Now we'll start with our next chapter, professional ethics. I've also told you earlier in the first class also why is professional ethics so important? Because of the two reasons. One, it is very scoring, and secondly, it is also easy to retain, and thereby making it again scoring. So mostly the pattern is like around 12 to 14 marks. The weightage is of around 12 to 14 marks. Mostly three questions will come from professional ethics. Last attempt only one question came. Except that till now I've seen like mostly on an average three questions usually come in every exam. So there is a like a high probability that again professional ethics will be tested for 12 marks, again 8 to 12 marks, very likely. And therefore it's again always an important chapter. Even if it's not asked, like even if they ask for two questions only also, still they'll test you in MCQ section. And for that purpose we need to like study this chapter very minutely and in depth, not because of just because of the MCQ, but also when they ask for 4 mark question, they can ask on any in for a particular line as well. They can just pick up any line and they can frame a question for 4 marks. So we'll go through each and every part of professional ethics. First of all, what do you understand by professional ethics? What do you understand by professional, and what do you understand by ethics? Ethics is normal, similarly similar to what? Morality or moral behavior, right? What is good, what is wrong. But when it comes to professional life, why is it that professional ethics is important? Yes, tell me anyone. Professional ethics. You are going to become a chartered accountant, right? So, don't you think so that after becoming a chartered accountant, every person will be seeing you as a professional? Every person will be eyeing you as a professional person, and therefore, if you act manipulatively or if you act anyway not as according to what ICI requires you to do so, then it may hamper the name of ICI, then it may deteriorate the name of ICI or even the name of all the chartered accountant as a fraternity. Therefore professional ethics is a kind of a code which is implemented by ICI in the form of in a way so that every chartered accountant should follow all these guidelines and regulation and should adhere to these rules. And in any case if they do not do so, then in that particular case they may penalize the chartered accountants. So what ICI has done, we'll see. There is a chartered accountant act, you must be knowing about this chartered accountant act 1949. Similarly there are schedules to this act. Schedules you must be knowing. Have you know, do you know like PAMLA, money laundering act, prevention of money laundering act? So there is a schedule which is annexed to the act, schedule of offences, all the offences which is annexed to the prevention of money laundering act. And therefore whenever we call any offence, we do not say as offence specified under schedule 1 of PAMLA. We directly say as what? Scheduled offence. Why? Because there is only one schedule, and therefore we did not refer to schedule 1, 2, 3. Directly we call it as what? Schedule. Schedule is nothing but an annexure sort of something, annexure to the act, which contains details of any of the thing which act needs to specify. For example, how many schedules does company acts has? Company acts, how many schedules are there? Anyone? According to which schedule we prepare our financial statements? Schedule
Schedule 3.
3, right? Schedule 3, according to Schedule 3, we prepare our financial statement. Schedule 7 deals with CSR. There is a schedule with respect to depreciation. There is a schedule with respect to director's remuneration. If you have gone through your law, directors chapter, you will be studying schedule with respect to directors remuneration, schedule 5. So there are 7 schedules in total to Companies Act, and therefore whenever we specify any schedule to in the Companies Act, we specify the schedule number as well, unlike the case of Pamla. So these schedules are also needs to be studied along with the Chartered Accountant Act, and this is very very important part of your chapter. There are 2 schedules, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 Chartered Accountants Act 1949. There are 2 schedules which we need to go through in depth, each and every part, each and every clause of these 2 schedules. Similarly, there are other guidelines which have been issued by ICI, guidelines issued by ICI in correspondence with these schedules. There are ethical standard board codes, de- decisions made by ethical standard boards. So whenever like there are some certain, in many cases there can be a doubt, there can be doubt that whether this is allowed or not. Suppose schedules do what schedules generally prohibit or tells you that this is not allowed, and this is the thing which are allowed by a chartered accountant for them to do so. In case like for example they want to advertise, then they can't advertise in this ways, or they can advertise according to this. So schedule specifies certain prohibitions, restrictions. But in case schedule do not specify that this is a prohibition and it neither allows you to, then we can have a doubt that schedule do not prohibits also, there is no restriction given in Chartered Accountant Act or schedules, and neither does it specify that we can do so. Then in that case what should you do? You can go to ethical standard board and knock their doors, and they will give you their decision, they will give you their answer, what you can do in that course of, as a that course of action, what course of action you can do in that scenario. So when in doubt, you can go to ethical standard board, and their decisions also, in general they publish their decisions, that these are many doubts that we come across from many chartered accountants, and therefore as a general decisions we are declaring this ESB decision. So this is also an important part of your syllabus. So all these 4 things, everything other than this, they combine this into code of ethics, they combine all this into code of ethics, and that's what we will be studying. Not the entire code of ethics, but only the relevant portions of the code of ethics which is given by ICI. For example, you must be knowing aware about the fundamental principles of code of ethics. 5 fundamental principles. Do you remember? 5 fundamental principles of code of ethics, or 5 fundamental principle of SA 200. You must have studied in SA, studied in IPCC. Integrity, objectivity,
Objectivity, professional skepticism.
yeah, professional due care and diligence, and competency. Right? Integrity, objectivity, competency, professional skepticism, due care. So this code of ethics also states you all these codes, fundamental principles that we will be studying later. Similarly, we would like to study this in detail, because what I expected is that they can ask you a detailed question in a detailed manner from the each point, like from each point, like even if they want to dig in into confidentiality, they can dig in, like they can directly ask you from this part where you can disclose your confidential information, or where you can't disclose your confidential information, what are the circumstances. So they can directly ask like that also. But in November 2022 they directly ask what? Fundamental code of ethics, briefly explain, 5 mark question. Very very easy question. I really don't expect that they will ask again the same to explain you all the 5 fundamental core principles of your code of ethics, right? So we'll dig in all this into all these 5 code of ethics. And then there are also threats, you must be aware about this as well, must have learned this in IPCC. Do you remember? Self-interest threat, self-review threat, right? So self-interest, self-review, advocacy, intimidation threat. And how we evaluate all these threats? Because these threats will affect our independence, we won't be able to apply our judgment, we will be biased, we will not be objective. And therefore to apply our independence, we need to be wary of this threat, and at the same time we need to evaluate the same and remove these threats before carrying out our professional work. So that is what we'll be studying, how do we address the threat, how do we remove the threat, how do we eliminate the threat, and what are the safeguards so that these threats doesn't happen again. So these are all things we'll be studying in our code of ethics section. But before that, we'll start with what? We will be starting with Schedule 1 and certain sections of Chartered Accountants Act. So we'll be starting with schedule 1. Before that, just to give you a glimpse, there are two schedules as I told you, schedule 1 and schedule 2. Schedule 1 contains four parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and schedule 2 contains three parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. And then in each part there are clauses. So schedule 1 part 1 there are 12 clauses, schedule 2 part 2 there are 2 clauses, schedule 1 part 3 are 4 clauses again, and schedule 1 part 4 there are 2 more clauses. These three parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3, these are, wherever you do not follow all these clauses, then you will be deemed to have been conducted a professional misconduct. You will be deemed to have been conducted a professional misconduct. And if you do not adhere to part 4, then you will be deemed to have carried out other misconduct and not professional misconduct. So other misconduct, all these clauses deals with what certain kind of prohibitions which are kind of professional, not professional, but in certain cases personal behavior, which might also affect your professional life. For example, you might have to take train ticket before you travel on a train. If certain, if on a certain day TC caught you, and TC catches you and then tells you that why there is no ticket, and you tell, since I am a CA, I don't require a ticket. So this is not a good personal behavior, and at the same time this will also affect the institute's reputation. So these, all this kind of behavior will come in part 4, and there are two more clauses in part 4, and this will be deemed to be have been conducted other misconduct and not professional misconduct. So you need to be aware where is professional misconduct and where is other misconduct, because these two are important terms. You need to mention the same specifically, professional or other misconduct. Similarly, this part 2 will be, you will be carrying out what professional misconduct, and part 3 again what other misconduct. So we'll be starting with schedule 1 and part 1 today. This is the biggest part of your both schedule 1 part 1. And in schedule 1 part 1 there are 12 clauses, out of which clause number 6, 7, 8 and clause 10, 11 are the biggest of the clauses, which are very very important. Not that other clauses are not that important, all the clauses are very important, but definitely you will be seeing one or two question from schedule 1 part 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10, 11. Definitely there will be a question or two from these 6, 5, 6 clauses. So we'll start with what schedule 1 part 1 clause 1. Schedule 1 part 1 clause 1. Before that, to just give a quick glimpse of what happens if you do not follow, any of the clause of these both schedules. If you do not follow that, then director discipline. There are certain persons in institutes panel committee where they do what they accept the complaints. Could be made by any person, by any individual, or even by your articles, or even by certain other chartered accountants. So they accept these claims and they evaluate the same, and after evaluating, if they have a prima facie opinion that yes, this chartered accountant is guilty, then they do what, then they submit all the information to board of director. Sorry, if they do not held them as guilty, then they directly submit it to board of discipline. But if they held guilty, if they assume that yes, this person is guilty, then this will be submitted to either board of discipline or either disciplinary committee, either board of discipline or either disciplinary committee, according to based on what schedule you are falling into. Suppose you are being held guilty under schedule 1, then you will be placed before board of discipline. And suppose you are held guilty under schedule 2 or schedule 1 and 2 both, then you will be held guilty under disciplinary committee. So what is the difference between this board of discipline and discipline committee? If you are being held under disciplinary committee, the actions are even more severe as compared to when you are committing a breach in schedule 1. So schedule 1, what actions can board of discipline take? You can be reprimanded. Reprimanded is just like a scold, which you are being scolded and not to do again. Like you have been told not to do this again, just to reprimand the member. Similarly, remove the name of member up to 3 months. Your name can be removed from the register of member. And once you have been removed from the register of member, then you are not being chartered accountant anymore. So you can be removed from the register of member for 3 months, maximum 3 months. And lastly, you can also be levied a penalty of 1 lakh. Similarly, when you are being held guilty under Schedule 1 or 2 both, or only Schedule 2, then disciplinary committee can again reprimand the member, can remove the name of the member for any duration. For any duration. So you must be reading sometimes Google articles where they have like reprimanded the member, or where they have been removed from the name of register of member for 1 year or 2 years because of GST fraud, or because they have incorrectly taken GST credit in the name of client, or manipulated GST laws, income tax laws. So they have been removed from the name of register of member for 1 year, 2 year. So they can be removed for any duration. And lastly, they can be imposed fine up to 5 lakh. In any case, if you are not satisfied with the decision of board of discipline or disciplinary committee, then you can go to whom? You can then appeal within 90 days to appellate authority. You can then appeal to appellate authority within 90 days. If in any case you are not satisfied with the decision of board of discipline or disciplinary committee. Now again, why here disciplinary director, that is director discipline, is also mentioned. Director discipline can also be agreed by order of BOD or disciplinary committee. How? Because as I told, if director discipline finds him not guilty and he submit all information to board of discipline for further action, and board of discipline finds him guilty under schedule 1, then director discipline can be an aggrieved party. Similarly, if director discipline is prima facie of opinion of the guilty, but when he forwards this to board of discipline that yes, this member I feel is guilty and you should evaluate the same, under schedule 1 he is guilty under this clause, and board of discipline finds him not guilty, then again disciplinary director, that is director discipline, could be an agreed party, and he can also appeal within 90 days to appellate authority. So you can also appeal against the decision of board of discipline or disciplinary committee. Similarly, director discipline can also appeal against the decision of board of BOD or DC, as the case may be. Within 90 days, important, remember, within 90 days to appellate authority. So let's just quickly, now that you know what could be the course of action taken by the institute in case you do not follow these schedules. So let's start with what? Schedule 1, part 1. Schedule 1, part 1. And our first clause will be with respect to practicing chartered accountant. So I'll just quickly again tell you what this part 1, deals with practicing chartered accountants. Entire part 1 deals with practicing chartered accountant. Part 2 deals with employee chartered accountants. Part 3 is general. Similarly, part 4 is also general. Again, schedule 2, part 1 is practicing chartered accountants for all the practicing chartered accountants. Part 2 is general, and part 3 is also general. So part 1, wherever they say professional misconduct in relation to CAP. What is CAP? Chartered accountant in practice. Chartered accountant in practice. So we'll start with clause. The language should be same whenever we start with the clause number. Clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1 states that a chartered accountant shall be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. A chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he. So whenever you start any clause, you should be wary of this language. A chartered accountant should be held guilty of professional misconduct. A chartered accountant in practice should be held or is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, clause 1, allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant, unless such person is also a chartered accountant in practice and is in partnership with or employed by himself. That means what? I cannot allow any other person to practice in my firm's name unless that person is also a chartered accountant, plus and plus that chartered accountant is either my partner or my employee. That chartered accountant is either my partner or my employee. Are we clear? Like, for example, suppose you came into my office and you told that yes, sir, I want to learn certain things in your office, and I am not a chartered accountant, but I have given my final examination. So don't worry, I know everything, every provision, and I have done my articleship very nicely. I have visited various times to the income tax department, and I can handle all the cases as well. So right now, what is happening is I am sending that person to visit income tax department on behalf of me, and filing all the cases, fighting for my clients, and therefore that person is not a chartered accountant and is not a partner, and neither he is my employee, neither he is my employee, neither is my partner. And even if he is my employee but he is not a chartered accountant, then in that case what can happen is that he is fighting on again on behalf of my firm name. He is fighting in on the firm name of mine, and therefore he will be held GPM because he I have allowed any person to practice in my name as a chartered accountant. So if I allow any person to practice in my name, if what, such person is not a chartered accountant, or such person is a chartered accountant but is not my partner or employee. If I want to allow any person to practice in my name, then that person should be what? Chartered accountant, plus he should either be my employee or he should either be my partner. So you can quickly go through this chart. Just quickly tell me, if he is a non-chartered accountant, whether he will be allowed? No. But if he is a chartered accountant and he is a partner, will be allowed to practice in my name? Yes. Whether he will be allowed to practice in my name if he is an employee? Yes. But in any other case, he will not be allowed to practice in my firm's name. He will not be allowed to practice in the firm name of Chandak and Associates. For example, let's say Chandak and Associates, right? So quickly go through this May 2019 question number 60, 5 mark question. It came for 5 marks directly, May 19. Go through this. CA Sant and newly qualified chartered accountant, newly qualified professional with certificate of practice, approached CA Pant. He went to CA Rishabh Pant, the auditor of his father's company, to allow him to have some practical knowledge. CA Pant allowed him to sit in his office for 6 months and allotted a small chamber with other office infrastructure facility. In the course of his association with CA Pant's office, he used to provide tax consultancy independently to the client of the firm, and also filed few IT and GST return and represented himself before various tax authorities on behalf of the firm, although no documents were signed by him. During his association, he did not get any salary or share of profit, but only reimbursement of usual expenses like conveyance. So what do you think? Anyone? Then Lakshmi, what should be the answer in this case? Examine the case in the light of Code of Professional Misconduct. Do you think this is a professional misconduct under clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1 to Chartered Accountants Act 1949? You'll be starting always like this according to clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1 of Chartered Accountants Act 1949. It says what? A chartered accountant in practice shall deem to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice in his name, unless he is a chartered accountant in practice and is also a partner or is employed by himself. So what should be the answer here? Yes. Do you think he is my partner or my employee?
No, sir.
Yes, then Lakshmi.
No, sir. No, sir.
Why? Because they are
There is no
specifically given.
employer-employee relationship.
He did not get any salary, right? So he is not my employee,
Yes.
and he is also not receiving any share of profit or commission. So he is neither my partner as well. So now, do you think that he is using my firm name? Where can you trace that in the question? Where do you feel that yes, he is using my firm name, or I am allowing the person to use my name?
Sir, he represented himself before the tax authorities.
Yeah, so he used to provide tax consultancy independently to the client of the firm, right? Firm clients, he is providing all the tax consultancy, so clients will be assuming what? Yes, he is already the chartered accountant and also filed IT cases, GST return, represented himself before various tax authorities on behalf of the firm. Clear? So doesn't matter whether he is signing the documents or not. This will be called as what? He is acting on behalf of the firm. Estopel, partnership by estopel. You mean what? By behavior, we can assume that what? He is acting on behalf of the firm. Just by the behavior, he is giving the consultancy, he is representing on behalf of the firm. So he is neither my partner nor my employee, even though he is a chartered accountant. Still, he'll be held GPM because he is not my partner or employee. You can go through this answer. Just to highlight this point, you should always write the objective of the clause. What is the objective of clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1? If at all I have given it. Wherever an institute has given the objective of any clause in study material, I have included the same. If not, then of course you cannot write, but wherever I have included the objective, you should also write the objective of the clause in the answer. They always mention the same in suggested answer. So what is the objective of the clause? The clause is intended to safeguard the public against unqualified accountant practicing under the cover of qualified accountants. Getting this? So society will be protected from all the unqualified accountants if they can also act in the name of all the qualified chartered accountants. And it ensures the work of accountant will be carried out only by chartered accountant who is either his partner or his employee. So that means what, he should be closely associated with my firm. He should be knowing everything about my firm and then can act on behalf of my firm. Clear? That is the objective, and then you will write the facts of the case and then you will accordingly conclude. Just read this answer once, you'll get to know how the answer will have to be framed, and you will get 4 out of 4 mostly once you write the clause language. Clause number, always remember, this will be of 1 mark. Mentioning the clause number is very very important. 1 mark constitute the mentioning of clause, schedule and part number. 1 mark will be allotted to you based on this only. And then the language, and then facts of the case, and directly the conclusion. Quickly go through the answer once, you'll get to know how you need to frame your answer. So now you have an idea, right? Getting the grip. That is how you have to frame all the answers. Write the part 1 schedule number and clause number, then accordingly language, facts of the case, and then finally conclude. So let's start with clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1. Clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1. So according to clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1, how do we start any clause language? How do we start it? For part 1, a chartered accountant in practice
or chartered
shall be
practice
deemed to be
deemed to
guilty
be
of professional misconduct
guilty of professional
if he pays or allows or agree to pay or allow. Even if he does not pay, even if he agrees to pay, then also he'll be held GPM. What is he agreeing to, or what does he paying for? So he pays or allows for any share, commission or brokerage in the fees or profits of his professional business. That means what? For example, suppose you brought a client to me. You bought a client to me and you want a commission for this client. So you bought a client, I charged him 1 lakh rupees. So you are telling me now that, sir, since I bought you a client, so I deserve a commission, I deserve a good party, and I deserve a commission as well, 10%. So I am giving you what, directly or indirectly, any share, any commission, or any brokerage in the fees or profits of my professional business. In the fees of my professional business, I am giving you what, share, commission, or brokerage. I am giving to any person, then I'll be held GPM. Except when can this be allowed? If I am giving this to a Moti only. Moti means member of the institute. Member of the institute. That is what Moti, member of the institute. That means what? Chartered accountant only. Chartered accountant can be only a member, right, of the institute. Who else can be a member? Chartered accountant only, right? Or a partner or a retired partner or the legal representative of a deceased partner. So if the partnership act itself says that in an agreement that yes, you have to share profit with your partner. Now even if he is a lawyer, I'll be sharing certain profit with him also because of the partnership form structure. So that is allowed. That is allowed. So partner, your partner, if you want to share your fees, commission or brokerage with your partner, then that is allowed. If you want to share with another chartered accountant, then that is allowed. If you want to share with a member of any other professional body, for example CS, CMA, then also that is allowed. Similarly, with such other person having such other qualification as may be prescribed, and prescribed qualification are here, that we'll see later. And this, if you are doing it for the purpose of professional service from time to time in or outside India, doesn't matter you are doing this in India or outside India. If you are paying or allow or agree to pay or allow any person other than this other than this, if you allow or any person to pay, if you are paying to any person, then you will be held GPM. You are paying what? Any share, fees or commission or brokerage in the parts of the profit of your business, professional business, fees of your professional business, any share, commission, brokerage, SCB. So what are these prescribed bodies and prescribed professionals? So prescribed bodies are this, yes, just like what I was saying, ICSI, Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Similarly, Institute of Cost Works and Accountants of India. Similarly, Bar Council of India, Indian Institute of Architects, and Institute of Actuarial Science of India. So do you know who are actuaries? Actuarial science, you must have heard this. They are mostly in the domain of risk management. So large insurance company, big corporate, big insurance company generally tend to resort to actuaries in order to assess how much their claims will be in future, predictions of future claims. So IAI, you can also share your profits with these. Similarly, who are the persons prescribed here? This with such other persons, such qualification as may be prescribed. Regulation 53A sub regulation 3, the persons qualified are same ICSI ka company secretary. Similarly, ICWI cost accountant, Bar Council of India bachelor in law, Indian Institute of Architect bachelor in architecture, and Institute of Actuary Science of India actuaries. So all these till now these are same. Apart from this, you can also see other three professionals. That is what? BE, BTech wale and MBA. BE, BTech and MBA. You can also share among these professionals. MBA you can also share with MBA as well. Mark this MBA because this is important, which you'll study later in clause 4, which is not allowed. Similarly, mark this as well, Bar Council of India, which you will later see in clause 4 is not allowed. So MBA, Bar Council of India is allowed to for us to share with them in clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1, even in clause 3, but not in clause 4. That we'll see later. So mark this important. MBA and Bar Council of India, that is advocates. Advocates. So you'll see what a member of such other professional body is this regulation 53A sub regulation 1, and qualified personals are specified under regulation 53A sub regulation 3. 53A1, 53A3. Remember that. Clear? Now comes the important question that can be asked because I feel is important. Institute has not yet asked till now, but is given in study mat. Not as such a question, but a line is given in study mat, and I feel this can be asked by the institute. Why? I'll just give you a scenario. For example, you are doing a cooperative bank audit. For example, you are doing a cooperative bank audit, and there is a panel which is being maintained by a cooperative banks. And generally, if you want to do an audit of cooperative bank, then what will you have to do? That you have to approach to this panel, and then this panel you have to enroll and register yourself with this panel, and then this panel will allot you the audit cooperative banks. Then this panel will allot you the audit of cooperative banks. So now what happens, since this panel is also incurring certain administrative expenses or other expenses, then they may charge you what? Suppose 2% of fees. 2% of fees, whatever amount they will receive from cooperative bank, suppose 1 lakh, they will charge 2k, 2000, and rest of the amount 98,000 they will transfer it to you. They will transfer 98,000 rest of the amount to you as a professional fees after deduction of their administrative expenses. So do you think, are you sharing any part of your fees with any other person who is not a chartered accountant, who is not your partner, who is not a retired partner, who is not a legal representative of your deceased partner, who is not covered under regulation 53A sub regulation 1, who is not covered under regulation 53A sub regulation 3? Do you think can you share with this panel What do you think? Tell me. Did you get the question or not? Panel is being maintained. Panel allots all the audit. They incur certain expenses. In order to recover these expenses, they charge certain portion of the fees of the chartered accountant only. That is, chartered accountant, whatever fees they will be getting from the audit, they might ask for 2% of the fees. And after deducting the same, they then pass on the fees to chartered accountants. Then do you think chartered accountant can share this?
Yes, he can share.
Why so? And why not? Why so? Because if you see specifically by clause wise, language wise, they are neither falling in chartered accountant, they are neither Moti, they are neither my partner, my retired partner, my deceased partner, they are neither specified person covered under regulation 53A sub regulation 1 and sub regulation 3. Yes, because this kind of a custom, kind of a tradition, kind of a business practice, business model, yes, right? So they are not like kind of charging any commission, any brokerage, any share for the purpose of bringing the client to me. They are only charging for the purpose of getting reimbursement on administrative expenses, right? So that is allowed, that is a business model, that is a business customs tradition. And therefore institute says that there is no such prohibition for chartered accountant to share any percentage of profit with these bodies, with these professional bodies. For example, council decided that as such there is no bar in the code of ethics to accept such assignment wherein a percentage of professional fee is deducted by the government to meet the administrative and other expenditure. Clear? Now, very important part of clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 2 with respect to what? Sharing of goodwill or sale of goodwill. So, my goodwill will be what? Suppose I am a chartered accountant in practice. Chartered accountant in practice. Do you think this is my goodwill name? No. The goodwill name is not generally but always is your what? Firm name. Firm name. My firm name is, suppose I told you what? Chandak and Associates. So I can practice even without a firm name also. If you don't know, I can practice even without a firm name, but I won't be able to do many of the assignments. For example, audit reports. I need firm name. I can issue certificates, but I can still issue certificates or certain requirement which normal chartered accountant in practice can do, but without a firm name as well. I can practice. But to have my own goodwill, I need to have my firm name. And this firm name I can sell also. Not I, but after my death or after I went, my legal representative can also sell this name of firm name to any other chartered accountant as a goodwill. They can use this firm name as goodwill of already associated Chandak and Associates. So that is what this clause deals with, sharing of profit or sale of goodwill in the case of partnership firm. If suppose example one of the partner die in the partnership firm, then legal representative can still continue to receive share. Yes, that is allowed also, right? We just study what clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1, that yes, you can share with your legal representative of the partner, if and only, just remember that, if partnership deed provides so. Partnership deed specify that yes, after the death of any of the partner in our partnership firm, the legal representative of that partner will continue to receive the share of 20% profit, or will continue to receive share of whatever profit percentage the partner is getting. Are you getting this? So in only in that case you can share the profit with the legal representative of the deceased partner. But in the case of a proprietorship firm, suppose this Chandak and Associates is proprietorship firm, I am the only person chartered accountant associated with this firm. So here what does it say? That you cannot share fees between legal representative and purchaser of goodwill of the firm or as a sale of goodwill. What am I doing here is what? Suppose I am selling chartered. I went and my wife is selling this firm name to any other chartered accountant, and she's telling what, that as and when you get any fees, as and when you get any business from this firm name, from the use of this goodwill name, you will transfer 25% of these fees to me. As and when you get the business from this firm name, you will have to transfer it to me. 25% of the fees you will have to transfer it to me. So this is not allowed. This is not allowed. Selling a goodwill like this is not allowed. Even though selling a goodwill is allowed, but the payment should be decided upfront. The decision how much the payment will be for the sale of this goodwill amount should be decided upfront. That is 1 cr, whatever be the amount, 10 lakh, 1 cr, whatever be the amount of goodwill for which I am selling the same to you, the amount should be decided upfront. Although the amount can be paid by you in installment, that doesn't matter. The payment system doesn't matter, but the amount to be paid, contractual amount for the sale of goodwill has to be decided upfront. It cannot depend on fees. It cannot depend on profit that you will make. Whatever amount of profit you make from this use of goodwill name, then from that profit you will have to transfer 25%, 30%. No, that is not allowed. Only upfront basis decision has to be made on payment. Payment can be made on installment, doesn't matter, but how much amount you have to pay for the sale of goodwill, for how much amount you will receive for the sale of goodwill has to be decided upfront. That is what it says, that no sharing of fees between legal representative and purchaser of goodwill. Who is legal representative here? Legal representative is my wife, and purchaser of goodwill of firm, sale of goodwill as given below. Now suppose, I died and there is no will, written by me that who will receive my property, or who will receive the goodwill name, who will have my property. So now my brother also come into the picture. My brother says that the property belongs to the family, and my wife is saying that no, property belongs to me. So who will win according to you? Whether my brother will win or wife,
Wife,
according
sir.
to your knowledge?
Wife.
Wife. Why?
Sir, because in the current relationship, she's with you. I mean,
Okay, as according to HUF, Hindu Undivided Family Act, you know this act, HUF Act. There is an HUF Act, right? All these cases are going for same-sex marriage. Why is it still not being decided by Supreme Court? Because Islamic Act doesn't allow that at all. Marriage at all. Even HUF Act also does not allow. So Supreme Court is kind of framing another act where they can allow this sort of marriage, because all this act doesn't allow. And similarly, HUF Act, there is and all everything given with respect to Hindu marriage, and it specifically says that after marriage, Hindu marriage, property will go to wife. So suppose I have two wives, then what will happen? Both these wives are fighting with respect to who will be the owner of the properties. So now there is a dispute with respect to who is the legal representative. There is no clarity as such who is the actual legal representative. Then what will happen? I'll have to submit to ICI, not me, but my wife. They will have to submit to ICI that yes, there is kind of a legal dispute which is ongoing till now, and this dispute, they will have to inform to ICI within 1 year from the death. From my death, they'll have to submit to the institute within 1 year. And after this dispute is over, finally it has been decided that yes, this is the legal representative, then again they have till 1 year, till when they can sell the goodwill. That is, after the dispute, they will have 1 more year. Till then, they can sell the goodwill name. After that, the goodwill name will not be kept at abeyance. Goodwill name will be stricken off. The name of the firm, Chandak and Associate, will be stricken off from the register of members, from the register of firm names. So that will be stricken off by the institute. So what is the timeline here? From the date of death, you have 1 year to communicate to institute ICI. And suppose here is the dispute settlement date. Dispute got settled after suppose 2.5 years. Then after that, you have 1 more year. You have 1 year more to sell your goodwill. Whoever is the legal representative now, they have one more year to sell the goodwill. One The goodwill will be kept in abeyance by the institute for 1 year. After that, it will be struck down. You can't sell anymore. Clear? That is when, with respect to, there is a dispute. If there is no dispute, then you will have to sell the goodwill within 1 year directly from the date of death. If there is no dispute, then such sale should be concluded within 1 year from the death of proprietor. Are we clear with respect to goodwill, sale of goodwill? This is important. Generally, in clause 2, this is asked. Question on sale of goodwill. So, are we clear with clause 2?
Yes, sir.
So, Sagar, repeat clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1. What does it say? Language. Clause 1 of part 1 of schedule 1.
A CA in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice his name as a CA unless such person is also a CA in practice or is in partnership or employed with him.
Or nahi. And is in partnership with him
Sorry,
or employed by him.
and is in partnership.
And a partner or employee. Should be my partner or should be my employee. Has to be.
Employer.
And what is clause 2?
The initial lines are the same. The CFP is deemed to be a GPM if he pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow
Hmm.
uh, directly and indirectly any commission brokerage to any person other than some specified persons are allowed. For exceptions are members of the institute like CA or any other members of professional bodies.
This professional body, apart from this, other person's exceptions.
Uh, so these are the exceptions. I mean, he's allowed to pay these members or persons which are specified. Any other paying a commission or fees to
Do you
any other
think I can
person?
I can pay to legal representative of the partner? Are they
हाँ
covered in
sir.
the exception? Partner, my retired partner, or legal representative of the deceased partner, are they
Yes sir,
also
we can
covered?
pay those persons. Yes sir, we can pay
Right?
those persons.
And these prescribed bodies and prescribed qualified persons, where were they covered? Under which regulation? Regulation 53A,
53A
sub-regulation 1 for professional
regulation.
bodies and sub-regulation 3 for qualified persons. So in
Okay.
sub-regulation 3, you will find three more qualified persons. ICSI, ICAWAI, Institute of Actuarial Science of
Architect.
India, Indian Institute of Actuaries, and one more was there. They are already
Architects.
covered in 53A sub-regulation 1. Apart from, yeah, Bar Council of India. So apart from these five, three more were there. MBA. Do you remember I specifically marked you MBA?
जी MBA and Bar Council of India.
No, Bar Council of India there. Bachelor in Law is there also. Apart
Sorry,
from
sorry.
these five, there were MBA and BE and BTech. Do not forget your engineering friends. Once you,
Bachelor Engineering and Technology. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes.
So you have entered commerce, you have forgotten all your engineering friends. So that is what they want you to recall and remember them as well. You can always enter into partnership with them, or you can pay. Sorry, not enter into partnership, but you can pay or allow to them also. Be or your BTech friends or your MBA friends as well. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So clause 3 is nothing but just the vice versa of clause 2. Clause 2 prohibits us what? Clause 2 prohibits us to pay or allow or agree to pay or allow any parts of profit, any fee, share commission brokerage from the fees of professional business, right? To any person other than Moti and all. Partner, retired partner, and 53A1, 53A3. Similarly, clause 3 prohibits us to receive any amount from any other person except for these person which are covered here, which are covered in 53A1 and 53A3. We can receive from these person, except from these person we cannot receive any share or profit percentage from any other person. So like that, you are agreeing or you are accepting, any part of the profits of the professional work, any part of the profits of the professional work of a person who is not a moti. So suppose for example, let's say there is a what can the example be? Yeah, there is a businessman. Suppose there is a businessman, and as a chartered accountant, you did what? You told to him a certain business model, and now you are accepting a profit of the professional work of a person who is not a moti. So not exactly a businessman but a professional, suppose interior designer or any other professional you can take, and now you are accepting a profit from that person as a percentage. Whether this is a chartered accountant? No, only a chartered accountant can give you the same. Chartered accountant can give you any part of the profits of that their professional work, except them. Who else can give? I told you, regulation 53A sub regulation 1 and sub regulation 3 persons covered. So let's just see, provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as prohibiting a member from entering into profit sharing or other similar arrangements, including receiving any share commission or brokerage in the fees with a member of such professional body or other persons having qualification as referred to item 2 of this part. Item 2 is what? Clause 2. So clause 2, the persons, they were covered already in clause 2. What persons were covered? Regulation 53A sub regulation 1 and regulation 53A sub regulation 2. These persons, if you are receiving from this person, then those are covered in proviso. And proviso is what? Exception to the clause. That means what? You can receive from these persons. You can receive from these persons. So just write here, regulation 53A sub regulation 1 and 53A sub regulation 3 persons allowed. And also you can receive from what? Also you can receive from a chartered accountant, because this says what? This says that who is not a moti, any part of the profit of the professional work of a person who is not a moti. That means a person who is a moti, you can receive the same from them. Clear? This is also very very important. Last line, referral fees amongst members. Do you think that you can accept referral fees from members? For example, I am proficient in direct tax only. I i fight only for direct tax cases, like clients who come for direct tax appeals and litigation. For any case which comes to me for indirect taxes, I forward it to another firm who is kind of an associate or is kind of a friend of mine, and even if it's not a friend, but I forward it to another firm of chartered accountant, and now I am expecting that they will give certain fee, referral fee. Since I forwarded forwarded a client of mine to another firm, they will give fee share to me. They'll give they'll give suppose 5 lakh, 2 lakh, 1 lakh to me. Then do you think this referral fee is allowed? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It's
Yes.
allowed.
Yes, Sashi, but why?
Sir, it's not like a commission, right? We are not expert in that field, so we are referring it to another person. So it's like it is not a commission or brokerage, so it is allowed. I think so.
Yeah, fine. And anyway, if a brother is not available for another brother, right? We are all chartered accountants, we are all from same fraternity, so have to be available for one or the other. So that is what they are saying, that referral fee amongst members is allowed, is not prohibited for a member in practice to obtain fees from another member in practice only, in relation to clients referred. So you should definitely refer your clients and also expect that they will also refer the same. Fine. So let's just quickly come on to the questions part one by one. Start giving the answers. You have learned the clause 1, 2, and 3 till now. Clause 1, one question we saw, right? Similarly, clause 2 and 3, these are all the combined questions from clause 2 and clause 3. So, fatafat se, Krupali, obtained loan from bank agreeing to pay interest at the rate 6% or 10% of gross receipts. Krupali,
Yes, sir.
this answer this fatafat. Obtain loan from bank agreeing that you will pay interest at the rate of 6% or 10% of your gross receipts, whether you will be held GPM
Yes,
or not.
yes, sir. Actually, profit sharing is allowed as per clause 2 only.
Yeah, fee sharing is not allowed to any
Fee
person other
sharing.
than Moti, partner, retired partner, deceased partner,
Partners,
53A1, 53A3
regulation
for the
53A
purpose
3.
of your professional work, right? So that is what you have to mention clause 2 in entirety, language with reference of clause number and then facts of the case and directly then conclude. So what I have done here is I have just summarized the question in one line and then I have given the remark profit sharing allowed in accordance with clause 2 only, and therefore here we are not falling under clause 2. Bank, do they fall under clause 2? No. So
No.
therefore you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Guilty, yes or no? So then you will have to conclude that yes, CA in practice shall be held guilty under clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1. Next, Nikita, sharing profit with widow of deceased partner. What do you think? Can I share my profit with widow of the deceased partner?
Yes, sir, because it is allowed to share profit with the deceased, matlab, legal representative of the deceased partner.
Yeah. So legal representative, just now I told HUF, my brother versus my spouse. Who will win? Widow, right? So sharing profit with widow of the deceased partner will be allowed as it is given under regulation and also in clause 2 of part 1 of schedule 1. Again,
It
Nikita
should
gave
provide in
50% of,
partnerships.
yeah,
It should provide it in the partnership deed, na?
yeah, it should be provided in the partnership deed that you have to specifically mention in the remarks column or in the conclusion column. Provided that sharing is allowed, provided it is mentioned in the partnership deed. Now, Nikita, again, you have been sent by your principal for auditing. Suppose you have been sent to Nagpur and you stayed in a hotel and all the traveling expenses, everything you incurred by yourself. And the principal then gave you 50% of audit fee as a reimbursement to all these expenses that you incurred on behalf of the client, on behalf of the firm. So what do you think? Office allowance, is it allowed? Yes. Tell me fatafat.
So office allowances are allowed, but the share it over here it's like sharing of fees. Uh,
So
so we
terminology doesn't matter. Just see the crux of the arrangement. Crux of the arrangement is you are sharing part of your fees. Sharing of fees. So doesn't matter whatever name you give. You can give anything. You can give the name of office allowance, you can give the name of any other thing. Terminology doesn't matter. But what is being done here is sharing of fees, sharing of part of your profit, part of your fees. And that is again held to be GPM. So that is what they are saying, not the nomenclature, but the substance of the transaction is what is important. Nomenclature doesn't matter. You have to see what the substance of the transaction, right? Now, Tanvir, article given 1% of the profit because of financial difficulties. You give 1% of your profit to your article since he's facing with various difficulties financially. Again, cannot hear you. Yeah, it's simple only. It will be held GPM, right? Guilty of professional misconduct again because under clause 2. Sale of goodwill by widow to another chartered accountant along with the right to use name. Again, we already saw this question. Yes, it is allowed. Widow can sell the name of goodwill to another chartered accountant. Yes or no? Shares and receives profit with advocate. Advocate, you are sharing the profit as well as receiving the profit. What do you think, Kapil? Can you do so?
So it is allowed.
Allowed, but I need references. Clause,
It will be
regulation,
clause
all the
1
references.
or clause
Yeah,
2 and 3.
clause 2 and
Because
clause
we
3 fine
we are
because
Sir,
sharing
you are sharing also. So clause 2
and
and you are
receiving
receiving
also.
also. So clause 3 and then regulation number.
53A subsection 3, subclause 3,
Sub-regulation 1 and sub-regulation
subregulation.
3, right? So advocates are covered there. Then chartered accountant in practice entered into an agreement with an experienced registered valuer to share 20% professional fees for all cases of valuation referred to him by chartered accountant in practice. Based on this, chartered accountant in practice received 1,20,000 from A. What do you think?
Sir, again, as we read कि मतलब profit share हो रहा है.
Hmm. So can you do with registered valuer?
No, sir.
Whether are they covered?
Because
No, sir.
He
because
must be a member
he's
in
not
practice.
covered in 53A.
They are not covered in 53A1 and 53A3, right? So you'll be held
3.
GPM, except professional fees from a person who is not a member of the institute. Further, registered valuers are not recognized for profit sharing purpose under regulation 53A1 and
Regulation 53.
53B as well, with deals with what 113 and schedule 1 part 1. This will be 53A only, sub regulation 3 and sub regulation 1. So you cannot receive the same. Clear? Let's come now to clause 4. Clause 4. So clause 4 enters into partnership in or outside India. A CA in practice shall be deemed to be GPM if he enters into partnership with any person other than chartered accountant in practice. So if you are entering into partnership with any person other than chartered accountant in practice, you will be held GPM. Except there are certain exceptions. Again, what are the exceptions? Let's just see. Other than chartered accountant in practice or other than such other person who is a member of any other professional body. That means what? You can enter into partnership with such persons who are covered under these professional bodies or the council for the purpose of permitting such partnership. That means or such other persons which have been permitted by the council, ICI council, for entering into partnership. You can just delete this line. This is no more relevant. This is an outdated line from 1980 1990. This was there earlier but now no more relevant. So enters into partnership. If you are entering into partnership, doesn't matter you are entering in India or outside India, in India or outside India, with any person, then you will be held GPM. Exceptions are you are entering a partnership with chartered accountant in practice, or you are entering partnership with persons who have been prescribed. You are entering partnership with persons who have been accepted by, permitted by council. So you have to specifically see now what regulation 53B. Regulation 53B specifies all those persons with whom you can enter into partnership. Quickly go through regulation 53B and tell me what is the difference between regulation 53B and 53A sub regulation 3. What is the difference?
MBA.
MBA. I told you earlier also, right? You cannot enter into partnership with MBA. Although you can pay or allow or agree to pay or allow any share commission brokerage of your fees to him. But you cannot enter into partnership with them. MBA. So mostly these are same. Why they specifically carved out regulation 53B for the purpose of clause 4 is because of the reason that in case they want to include any person in future or exclude any person from entering into partnership, this is a different clause at all. They cannot club with clause 2 and 3. Clause 2 and 3 deals with payment or receiving any part of profit, but clause 4 deals with what entering into partnership. So they have created a separate regulation itself. In case they feel that yes, you can enter into partnership with this person, they can include the name of that person in regulation 53B. So for example, MBA, they wanted to exclude this, and so they have not included the same in regulation 53B. Clear? You cannot enter into partnership with MBA. I also told one more name with whom you cannot enter into partnership with. Do you remember? Yes, I told you to mark them as well. MBA and बोलो भाई
Advocate,
advocate,
Bar Council.
bar
Bar
council of India
Council of India.
advocate, right? So you cannot enter into partnership with advocate. Can you see advocate in regulation 53B?
Yes.
Advocate is there. So how come it is
See.
not allowed? Because of the fact that Bar Council of India does not allow advocate to enter into partnership with any person other than advocate. Bar Council of India prohibits an advocate to enter into partnership with any person other than an advocate. So an advocate can enter into partnership with advocate only, and therefore ICAI in their frequently asked question they release FAQs. So in their FAQs they have released that an advocate you cannot enter into partnership, although our regulation 53B specifies, but since the samne wali party, the party in front of us, the Bar Council of India does not allow the advocate to enter into partnership with us, therefore we will also not allow our members to enter into partnership with advocates. Clear? So you'll have to specify clearly. You'll have to specify clearly, specifically this first question. CA in practice enters into partnership with advocate. So just change this answer. This will be changed, or you don't change this answer. You can say what allowed under clause 4. Allowed under clause 4, and you will specifically mention that Bar Council of India prohibits advocate to enter into partnership with any person other than advocate, and then therefore institute also has released FAQs which deals with entering into partnership with advocate, and in that case institute has answered not to enter into partnership with advocate. This or everything you will have to mention, because why I am saying this, why I am saying to give a dicey answer to institute if at all this question comes again, because earlier when this question came there was no such FAQ which released by ICI. This FAQ was released recently, 4 attempts back, and still now SM is not changed. Study material is not updated. Study material till now there is nothing as such specified for advocates. Till now, according to them, 53B advocates are allowed. So you will also say what advocates are allowed under clause 4 53B regulation 53B. However, you can just write here. However, Bar Council of India does not allow advocates to enter into partnership with any person other than advocates. Hence, ICI in its FAQs specifically excluded advocates from entering into partnership. Clear?
So,
Yeah.
is there any specific reason why they are prohibited, MBAs and advocates?
MBAs are not like exactly the professionals. See, professionals are whom where there is a code. Like for us, there is a code of conduct. There is a code of ethics. Similarly, for doctors, you'll again find a code. Similarly, for you can say any other professional architects, or wherever there is a professional body, company secretaries, cost accountant. So there is a professional code which they follow, and that is why they are also called professionals. But MBA there is no as such code you will find, and specifically MBAs, what I feel is there are various diverse field in MBAs, various field in MBAs. Specifically, they could have allowed us to enter into partnership with MBA in finance specifically, but since
Hmm.
you want your partnership firm to be a CA firm, and therefore in that particular case they have excluded the same MBA. And more particularly, I feel is the same because of there is no code of conduct for MBAs, which you find in the
Okay.
case of advocates. Like advocates, they are specifically prohibited advocates to enter into partnership with any person other than
Partnership.
advocates.
Hmm.
Like our body institute has prohibited our CAs to enter into partnership with any other person, except for all these persons which are covered. So there are certain rules and guidelines, codes which you will have to adhere to in order to be to be professional.
Okay, sir.
So partnership with CPA or SEMA UK. SEMA UK, you know SEMA, SEMA. रेखा, सुषमा, जया और सीमा नहीं. सीमा. सीमा is nothing but Certified Institute of Management Accountant. What we called CMA US. Do you know CMA US? Like what we have here, CMA India. Similarly, in US they have CMA US. And similarly, when you go to UK, they have Certified Institute of Management Accountant CIMA or CPA. So you are entering into partnership with CPA or CIMA UK. Is it allowed?
No,
No, they
it is
have
not
not been
allowed.
mentioned in 53B, and neither they have been clarified by the council for the purpose of permitting such partnership. Last line, last line. This last line. This is also not fulfilling. If that would have been clarified by the council that yes, you can enter into partnership with, then even if it is not given in 53B, but it's been clarified by council, then we can enter. But for CPN and CIMA UK, it is not be the case. Partnership with uncle's textile business, which did not took up. What happened is what you enter into your uncle's business, you enter into partnership with your uncle's business, and what happens? Not even a single penny sale happened. Not even a single penny sale happened, and you directly what close the business. So you enter into partnership with your uncle's business, but that business didn't took off, and therefore you closed that business. Do you feel that you will be held GPM?
Yes.
Yes. Does the clause doesn't say that that business has to run, that business has to happen. No, if you enter into partnership with any person other than Moti, other than persons covered under 53B, that you will be held GPM. Doesn't matter the business is running or not. And here in this case, you will also be held guilty of professional misconduct under clause 11 also. Why? Because clause 11 prohibits you to engage in any other occupation. Since you are chartered accountant, you should be focused more into practicing if you are a practicing chartered accountant. So you should not be getting engaged into other businesses, and therefore business occupation is not allowed under clause 11. So here clause 4 and clause 11 both will come. Clause 11, clause 4 both will come, and therefore you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Lastly, member in practice being managing director in two companies. Is this allowed? Okay, this is not the question from here. This will come across later. Leave this. This will come across in clause 11. Come to clause 5 now. Are we clear till now? Any doubt? Any sort of doubt?
Sir, I want to note down whatever you write in previous clause.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nupur, tell me what does clause 4 says exactly? The language? Clause 4.
A chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he enters into partnership in or outside India with any
Perfect.
person other than CA in practice or such person who is member of any other professional body or the council for the purpose of entering such partnership.
Correct. And clause 3?
Uh, if he accepts or agrees to accept any fees, uh, any part of profit of the professional work of a person who is not a member of the institute.
And provided that proviso was also there.
हाँ,
Proviso to clause 3. Provided that nothing
also
here
the
is yeah.
persons who are specified in regulation 53A1 and 53A3 are also not matlab they can accept from those
Yeah.
persons.
And can you accept referral fees
Yes, a referral fee can be accept.
from an engineer?
No, from only from the member of the institute.
Only from chartered accountant in practice.
Okay,
CAP.
okay.
Let's come to now clause 5. Now suppose you are securing any business. You are securing any business from the service of a person who is not your employee. You are securing any business from the service of a person who is not your employee, and who is not your partner. Therefore, you are securing from any other person any such sort of business will tantamount for you to again solicit that person to give us the business. Again, you can go to kind of manipulative extent, like you can tell him that okay, I'll do this for you if you bring this business to me. I can do this for you if you bring this business to me. And therefore you can secure this business service through the service of a person only if he is your employee or is your partner. And therefore this is prohibited by clause 5. If you secure any business by means which are not open to chartered accountant, that means anything which is not allowed by clause 2, 3, 4 will not be allowed under clause 5 as well. That is what here proviso also says, that 2, 3, 4, if it is allowed in 2, 3, 4, then that is fine. For example, you can accept you can accept business from chartered accountant in practice, correct? Then you can also accept referral fees from them. That is allowed. Then therefore this won't be counted here under clause 5. But whatever is not allowed there will not also be allowed in clause 5. And if you are securing any business, professional business, from the service of any person who is not your employee or who is not your partner, then you will be held guilty of professional misconduct under clause 5 of part 1 of schedule 1. That is the simplest of the clause. And now comes the complex clause 6. It's a huge clause, you can see, and definitely a question has to be from this clause, either an MCQ or 4-mark question. So clause 6, clause 7, very very important, both these clauses. One question you will find mostly from clause 6 and clause 7. So we'll just take a 5 minutes pause and we'll start with then clause 6. Till then, anyone wants to take a quick break, take a quick nap, then they can just have a break, or anyone wants to revise till then, whatever we have studied now, you can also revise. Okay, let's meet by 8:30.
Sir, I didn't receive the Sampurn soft copy book. So not audible.
Have you shared the details?
No, sir.
Share those details now. I'll just forward you the details that you need to forward it to me. I'll share the same
Okay.
by today.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Chalo. So clause 6. Clause 6 of part 1 of schedule 1 says what a CA in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he solicits clients or professional work either directly or indirectly. That means what? You are enticing clients or you are enticing other professional work directly or indirectly by issuing circulars, by advertising, by personally communicating that I am the best, I am the best, I am the best, or interview, or by any other means, doesn't matter, directly or indirectly. If you are soliciting any professional work or any client by circular, advertisement, interviews, or personal communication, or by any other means you are soliciting, then you will be held GPM, provided. That means this is allowed. Nothing herein contained shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting any chartered accountant from applying or requesting for any inviting or securing professional work from another chartered accountant in practice. That means you can obviously ask other chartered accountant in practice for some work. Of course, you can directly ask to them, but not to other persons. You can directly ask to them that to give certain sort of work, since I am just a newly qualified chartered accountant, and you can go to your brother, your vice chartered accountant, to ask some work, right? As I told you earlier, that we as a chartered accountant is a fraternity. All brothers should be available for all other brothers. A member from responding to tenders. This is also allowed. That is, you are not prohibited from responding to tenders. Why this is being mentioned here? Because in tenders you might have to specify how much is your employee strength, how many articles are there, what is the year of establishment of your firm, since when is your firm established, what is the total experience of your firm. So all these things will be providing to them, and it will be kind of a circular or kind of an advertisement, could be a kind of a solicitation, but still it is covered in a provision that states that no, it is not prohibited for you to respond to a tender. You are responding to a tender or inquiries issued by various users of professional services organization from time to time for securing your professional work. For securing your professional work, not some other tender. For your professional work, if there is a tender, yes, you can file. For generally, you will find in government audits or government company audits, they issue a tender for CA, for auditors as well, governments, you will see. So for in that case, you can see that yes, you can respond to tenders, provided that a moti in practice shall not respond to any tender, issued by an organization or user of professional service in areas of service which are exclusively reserved for chartered accountant, such as audit and attestation service. However, such restriction shall not be applicable where minimum fee of the assignment is prescribed in the tender document. So what does this say overall? That there could be two sorts of tenders. For example, I am telling you two examples. One is tender by government. One is for digitalization of documents. Suppose your KYC documents. One is this is one of the tasks which has been issued by a government or issued by government by way of tender, and they are inviting the responses from for this tender. They want to appoint any firm, or they want to appoint any MBA, or they want to appoint any company secretary, anyone. And then other sort of tender is for tax audit, for tax audit of government company. Correct? Now, what does it saying? That for the areas which are specifically reserved for CAs. Now, do you think tax audit can be done other person by any other person? By any person other than chartered accountant? No. So tax audit is a service which is specifically reserved for chartered accountants, and therefore it says that if minimum fee prescribed, if minimum fee prescribed, minimum fee not prescribed. That means what? Tax audit minimum fee is not prescribed, and here minimum fee is prescribed of rupees 50 lakh. That means what? When I am quoting the tender, like when I am responding to the tender, I'll quote my fees as 50 lakh minimum, bare minimum. You have to quote 50 lakhs, right? And here minimum fees is not prescribed. So out of these two cases, you can respond to the tender of this like where the minimum fee has to be prescribed, where in the tender it is being stated that you have to state your minimum fees of rupees 50 lakh. You cannot state your minimum fees below this. So these sort of tenders only I can respond to. Getting this sort of tenders I can respond. And where the minimum fees is not prescribed in the tender, I cannot respond. These are for those tenders which are specifically reserved for chartered accountants. But for the tenders which there is no reservation for chartered accountant, it means, do you think digitalization can be done only by CS? No, it can be done by MBS, it can be done by CS, CMA, anyone. So institute is saying when they are not lacking behind, when they are submitting the tenders, even if the minimum fees is not prescribed, even if the minimum fee is not prescribed, but MBA, CS, CMA, everyone is running behind the tenders, then why are you being left behind? Then you also don't worry about the minimum fee prescribed. You can also respond to all the tenders, whether be it minimum fee prescribed or not. Minimum fees prescribed or not. So you can respond to all tenders whether or not minimum fee is prescribed. Clear? Is this chart clear? You can just read the line again. You can just read this again. However, as per the guideline issued by council, a MOTI in practice shall not respond to any tender issued by an organization or user of professional service in areas of service which are exclusively reserved for chartered accountant unless unless such restriction is not applicable, that is unless minimum fee is prescribed in the tender document. That means you have to quote minimum fees. Why is this so? Why is this so case? Because generally in sort of these tenders, na government company, you will quote your minimum fees as 5 lakh and you will get the tender. Once you accept the tender, once you accept the service, now you will find out so many queries in the audit, and once you got so many findings in the audit, definitely you can also have goose, right? You can also have your black. So that is what they are saying, that you have to specifically quote this much of minimum fees. If the tender is specifying that much minimum fees, then you can accept that tender, else not. Till now, any doubt in clause 6? Two exceptions we studied for clause 6. You can anyway accept the work from your chartered accountant practice. You can ask your chartered accountant practice to work, to accept the work or to give the work to you. Similarly, you can respond to any tenders. But for responding the tenders, there is a guideline issued by Council of ICI, where it states that for a tender which is specifically reserved for chartered accountants such as audit and attestation service, there has to be a minimum fee prescribed in the tender. If not, you cannot respond to that tender. Clear or not? Let's quickly then come to some form of soliciting work which the council has prohibited, and these are the council guidelines issued under clause 6 of part 1 of schedule 1. So first one is with respect to advertisement and note in press. Press means with respect to like what? Newspaper. So can you advertise yourself? Can you give a note in the newspaper? Let's see. Members should not advertise. Of course, this will be a huge advertisement, right? Advertising in the newspaper about your CA firm. This, have you seen this? No. So members should not advertise for soliciting work or advertise in a manner which would be interpreted as soliciting or offering to undertake professional work. So soliciting there is not allowed. They are also not permitted to use the less open method of circulating letters to small fields of possible clients. So what I have done is I have told I have told Sagar to also enroll myself in one WhatsApp group. Sagar's father is very like renowned businessman in iron and steel industry in Raipur. And therefore, what I have done is I told his father to also enroll myself in the WhatsApp group. And in this WhatsApp group, I am also circulating about my professional firm. That with respect to tax audit, with respect to company audit, with respect to audit of iron and steel firms, I have been doing what? I have been circulating letters to small fields of potential clients, possible clients. He is a possible clients, his father, all the persons who is in the group are my possible clients, and therefore I am circulating letters to them. That is also not allowed. Then personal canvassing. What do you mean by personal canvassing? Personal canvassing would be like something you would see in the case of elections. You know, all the politicians, they knock your door to door they go, right? And personally they attract and they solicit that give vote to us. Similarly, you are going to each and every person, please do come to me only in the case of GST audit or in the case of tax audit, in the case of company audit. I have been proficient in this, I am a chartered accountant and everything, and you are personally inviting the person. Personally canvassing is not allowed, is not allowed. Or canvassing for clients of previous employer. Now this is the case of like, what do we say in Hindi is like, जिस थाली में खाया उसी थाली में वो करना, छेद करना. That means who has done the favor to you, employer who has done the favor to you, now you are betraying the same, betraying him. So canvassing the clients of previous employer, thereby telling the clients that okay, I am opening my new firm. You from next year onwards, you can come to my firm. I'll do the audit in 50%. Don't worry. Whatever fees he is charging, don't worry. You come to me. So that is also not allowed. Personal canvassing, canvassing the clients of your previous employer is also not permitted. Exception, however, are there. Exception is with respect to what? Again, you can accept the work from a chartered accountant in practice. You can ask the work from your chartered accountant in practice. As I told, a brother has to be available for another brother, right? A member may advertise changes in partnership or dissolution of a firm. So what happens here is in the case of, let's suppose a change in address of a practice or change in telephone number. Now suppose what I did there, now here you can advertise yourself in the case your firm address is changing, like your office address is changing, your office telephone number is changing, your partnership or profit sharing ratio or your firm is dissolving to another firm. So these all you can publicly tell in the newspaper. However, one thing has to be noted, that such announcements should be limited to bare statement of facts. That is, you have to only specify what is being done. Your phone number, earlier phone number was this and this has been changed to this. Your earlier address was this and this has been changed to this. Only that much. Bare statement of facts. Only the statement of facts has to be circulated, and everything with respect to area of distribution also has to be adhered to. For example, my presence is in Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Then I cannot start publicizing in the newspaper of Mumbai. I cannot start publicizing in the newspaper of Delhi. Area of circulation has to be limited. And similarly, number of insertions also has to be limited. Do you know in Diwali, you must have seen the newspaper, first page, last page, Amazon Live Festival, number of insertions, first page, last page, in between, everywhere there are. So my number of insertion has to be also limited in one page only, more than enough, right? So suppose example, what happened, I have given in newspaper that since there are so many clients, I am expert in this field, and there are so many clients that my sofa is always filled with clients only, and there is no more space left in my office. So I am changing this address to new address, and I am receiving so many calls from my clients. It's a huge inflow of clients, and therefore I am changing my phone number from this to this. Is this allowed? No, right? Why? Because you have to specify only bare statement of facts. So these three things you have to know. What? Bare statement of facts only has to be circulated. Area of circulation has to be specified. We has to be according to you only, and the number of insertions. And the number of insertions. Clear? Then comes classified advertisement in the journal or newsletter of ICI. Do you receive journal or ICI journal? Students journal? I don't used to receive. Like I received starting COVID. Before that, I didn't receive any time. Starting COVID, I used to then receiving for my last 4 5 months remaining. So I received journal. In this journal or newsletter, na, you will find there are certain advertisements in between done by a chartered accountant members only. Sometimes there are sometimes there could be a certain sort of advertisement with respect to a CA firm which requires any other CA or any other partner or any other salaried employee or any other article. There could be a cases. So this is what they are saying. A member is also permitted to issue a classified advertisement, where not in newspaper, where in a newsletter or journal of ICI, to give information for sharing professional work and on assignment basis. So if you want someone to share your professional work on assignment basis, or you want certain partner, you want to enter into partnership with any other person, you want a salaried employee, then you can all give this advertisement in a journal or newsletter of ICAI, provided one thing, that only contains the accountant's name, my address, my telephone number, my fax number, my email address, and my social networking site. My social networking site, whereby that any other person with whom the advertisement has been shared can connect to me. Only that much has to be there. No more exaggeration, no more mortifying. So, however, mere factual position. Now, one thing has to be clearly emphasized here is, don't see last line. Just tell me the answer. Do you think, can I express that my expertise is in mergers and acquisition, and therefore I want an employee who has a 3 years experience in this M&A, or I have a 20 years experience in taxation, and therefore I want my partner to be experienced in taxation. Can I specify this?
Yes, sir, because these are only the facts that we are
These are the
stating.
facts, right? This is not something which I am boasting myself about. These are something which is required by me in order for me to reach to proper candidate, right? To adequate to required candidate. So in order for me to reach out to this, mere factual position of experience and area of specialization can be permitted, is permissible. Are we clear with the first point? They haven't asked much from this point, if as far as I remember, and I feel it is important. They could frame any question from here, from this point A. So you should be knowing what does it say. It says that you should not solicit your work, solicit any in the newspaper or in the newsletter. And then it says that to possible clients also you should not circulate any letters or emails. And then thirdly, what does it say? Exception is you can always ask any work from your chartered accountant in practice. Second exception was with respect to in the case of change in address, in the case of change in number, in the case of change in partnership, you can specify these changes in newspaper. However, you have to specifically keep in mind that area of circulation has to be limited, number of insertions has to be limited, and it should only contain mere statement of facts, and nothing has to be exaggerated more than this. Thirdly, with respect to newsletter or your student journal or your journals issued by ICI, there you can advertise with respect to any requirement by you for article, for partner, for salaried employee, for assignment basis, project assignment. Then this all you can give in the newsletter or journal of ICI, provided you have only have to specify your name, address, contact number, fax, email, and your social networking website, and nothing in more than that. Also, you can specify your experience and area of expertise. Clear? Then quickly come to clause number B, application for empanelment for allotment of audit and other professional work. So just now I told you in the morning that cooperative bank can also, or any sort of, for example, not just cooperative bank, but you must be aware about the bank audits, right? Bank audits, how are we assigned bank audits? From the panel assigns the bank audit to all the CA firm who have been empaneled with them. So similarly, I found that there are cooperative societies, and I went to the head of cooperative society in order to inquire that whether there is a panel being maintained by them for audit of these cooperative societies. Is there any panel being maintained by head of all the cooperative societies? And if so, I've told them that if there is a panel being maintained for allotting the audit to all the cooperative societies, do include my name as well. Do include my name as well. Now this would tantamount to roving inquiry. What do you mean by roving inquiry? Roving inquiry is not an inquiry, but it's actually you are trying to influence them that yes, you are also a chartered accountant who can do audit, and in case they don't have an auditor, they will then directly tell you what, okay, we don't have any panelman, but yeah, I know few of the cooperative societies who require auditor, therefore you can reach out to them, or therefore they will tell them to reach out to you. And in a sense, your intention is not to inquire, your intention is what? Your intention is to promote yourself as an auditor. Your intention, you are targeting as an auditor, and therefore the inquiries kind of this is not allowed. Roving inquiry is not allowed. Wherever you don't know the existence of the panel, you cannot just go there and inquire whether there exists a panel or not. If you know the panel existent, if you know that there is a panel which is being existing since this period, and yes, like they allot the audits to the chartered accountants then from this panel only, then you can go to that panel and enroll yourself as a auditor in that panel. Then you can tell the panelists to enroll yourself as an auditor. If you do not know about the existence of the panel, you can't simply just go there and ask whether there is any panel, and if so, do include my name. Getting this? Roving inquiry. Just read this line, point B. Clear? So let's move on to point C with respect to earnest money deposit, kind of a security deposit. Earnest money deposit, you must have heard EMD, SD, security deposit. So what do you think, for the purpose of audit, if suppose has to be a security deposit to be deposited, then do you think we should accept the audit, or do you think this amounts to solicitation? Do you think this amounts to solicitation since we are accepting security deposit? We are telling that okay, have security deposit with you. Do you think this amounts to solicitation? Yes or no? Could be yes, could be no.
Maybe yes.
Huh?
Maybe yes.
Maybe yes, or maybe. What do you think?
Yes.
So it won't be a misconduct. Why? Because this is a business practice. If at all there is a business practice, and then you are giving a security deposit. For example, in the case of, as I said, government company tenders. For example, government issued a tax audit tender, then also asked in the tender to submit a security deposit. Do you know government, all the tenders mostly there has to submit a deposit. There has to be submitted a deposit in the government tenders mostly for assuring yourself that yes, you will commit, you will provide the service in case you have been selected, you will not back out, or for any sort of commitment they ask you to deposit certain tenders. So in this case what ICI tells you that till and until these deposits are within the limits and is not exorbitant, is not more than what is being industry asking for, is within the customs or traditions limit, then okay, ICI will not interfere in these cases. ICI will not interfere in these cases. However, if there is case where deposit is never being the case to be asked from the auditor, still deposit is being asked, or where the case is like deposit which has been asked is very much huge or very exorbitant deposits, then in that particular case ESB can be reached out to. I told you, when in doubt, go to ESB, Ethical Standard Board, right? Just like when in doubt, wear sari. Similarly, when in doubt, go to ESB. Chalo. Then comes to next point: publication of books, articles, or presentation. Publication of books, articles, or presentation. What do you think? Can you write your name as a chartered accountant, your firm name in your books, which has been published by you, written by you? Yes or no? Yes. CA, yes, Chandak. So earlier the firm name was not allowed. CA name was allowed. You could have written CA Yes Chandak, but I cannot write Chandak and Associate. Now, if the book is been published by you in the kind of a biography section or whichever you feel right that you can include your firm name, that is also being now permitted. That is also now being permitted. So just see, it is not permissible for a member to mention in a book or an article published by him or a presentation made by him any professional attainments. You cannot write what you have achieved, achievements, attainments, that you don't have to mention. However, you may indicate in a book, article, or presentation the designation chartered accountant as well as the name of the firm. Just write with this me firm name wherever we will be seeing the firm name is allowed, then we'll be classifying here, and firm name is not allowed, then we'll be classifying here, so that we don't get confused and we have all the clauses crux at a single point. So firm name allowed, what is where? In books, articles published, right? You can write your name as well as the firm name. Clear? Now comes the interesting part, your wedding. So Sony, what do you think? Can you write CA Soni, CA Soni Sharma in your wedding card
Yes, sir.
next year.
Yeah.
So CA Soni Sharma, you can write in your wedding card. You are saying yes.
It is allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Can we write or not?
We may write.
We can write.
Can write. Yeah.
Why can't it be like solicitation?
Because it is not like solicitation.
You will be submitting the same to so many persons. Your wedding card will be like given to
Because
so many persons on WhatsApp. Your status, WhatsApp
yes.
status, Insta status.
So CA use is not prohibited. Maybe
No, no, no.
use of.
Your firm name and CA name, if you start specifying in all the places, then what will happen is indirectly it will tantamount to solicitation,
Okay.
because you are writing your firm name, CA name. That means what? They are now getting aware about your firm presence. They will start asking about you, even though you didn't intend to, but indirectly it will tantamount to solicitation. So in this case,
Okay.
greeting cards or invitation, you are being allowed to write CA firm name only and only where you are circulating these cards to your friends, your family, relatives, or your clients.
Clients.
All these three already know about yourself, right?
Okay.
So if you are issuing cards to them, then those cards, that is allowed, except these persons in the wedding card, it is not allowed. So there will be an increased expense in your wedding, Sony, because you will have to print two wedding cards,
Okay.
one in which it won't be mentioned and one in which CA will be mentioned. So just see here, Council does not approve of the issue of greeting cards or personal invitations by members indicating their professional designation, status, and qualification, etc. However, Council is of the view that designation CA as well as the name of the firm may be used in the greeting cards, invitation for marriages and religious ceremonies, and any invitation for opening or inauguration of office of the members, change in office premises, and change in telephone numbers, provided such greeting card, this is the most important part, provided that such greeting cards or invitation are sent only to clients, only to relatives, and only to friends of the members concerned. So generally, you won't be held guilty anytime in this clause. Why? Because you will say that he is my friend, right?
Okay.
So there is no as such relevance if you can see practical standpoint, but still question is being asked by ICI, and I'll tell you the question when we'll come across the same, and you might commit a mistake as well. So read accordingly. Again, the line. Read accordingly. I'll ask you, Sony, when we'll be solving the question. Clause
Okay,
6,
sir.
do you see how many questions are there? This, all these are questions. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now advertisement for silver, golden, platinum or centenary celebrations. What are these is like, suppose my firm's existence has came to 50 years. My father started the firm name. I enrolled myself after becoming chartered accountant as a partner and joined my father. And then it's been 50 years since our firm's existence, since our firm's establishment. And therefore we want to celebrate golden jubilee. Golden jubilee. And that's what we also want to publicize the same in newsletter, newspaper. In the newspaper or newsletter, we want to publicize the same as well. What do you think? Will this be allowed? Don't
Yes,
see an
sir.
yes. Why?
Because it's not like solicitation.
See, Sony, your mindset has to be, first of all, towards prohibitions. Whatever we are studying has to be like, uh, the things which we cannot do. Solicitation, what we studied is you cannot solicit by any other means, by circular, by advertisement, by personal communication, by interview. And in there we are studying what? Guidelines. So they are being specifically telling that you cannot issue all these, but yeah, you can issue to your card, to your friends, family, or relatives. Similarly, books,
Relatives.
articles, or presentation, yes, you can now do. Earlier you couldn't do firm name, but now you can do firm name. EMD, security deposit, they don't want to interfere. Similarly, application for empanelment, they already told you that you cannot do roving inquiries. Now what here is that for silver, golden, platinum, or centenary celebration, newspaper or newsletter, it is allowed by ICI. Unlike you might have expected, it is allowed by ICI because ICI now here wants all of us to socialize. That is what the reason is being given by ICI. It is not permitted. First of all, they have given that it is not permitted to advertise the events organized by a firm of chartered accountant. So I'll give you one example. Suppose my CA firm, I am just publicizing the same in the newsletter that our CA firm consists of 90 articles, and therefore we are having we are having an articleship Premier League. Articleship Premier League of cricket match where we will have 8 teams of 11 members, 11 players in each team. 8 teams, 11 into 8, 88, right? So thereby I want to show what? That there are so many strength in my firm. So this kind of events, cricket event, funla event, or any other sort of events cannot be advertised by you. Unlike Sony, you are expecting that yes, it is not going to solicitation. Here it will be solicitation. Just that ICI allowed you to solicit for silver, golden, platinum, and centenary celebrations only.
Yes.
Getting this? In order for you to get
Getting.
socialized among chartered accountants. Because mostly what will happen is all the members which will be coming in your these celebrations will be your chartered accountant members, your clients will be coming, or your close relatives and friends, right? So however, considering
Right.
the need of interpersonal socialization, interpersonal relationship of the members through such get together occasions, the advertisement for silver, golden, diamond, platinum, or centenary celebrations of the CS firm may be published in newspaper or newsletter. So what is this diamond or platinum? How many years? Pavan, anyone? Now I say should not
75,
55.
70,
It is generally like 60 and platinum is for like 75 years,
75 years.
right? And centenary will be for 100 years. Silver is I believe 25 and golden is 50. Now I say should not like be digging into all this, but yes, you should be aware about this as well. 25, 50, 60, 75 and 100 years. If you want, you can arrange a event where there will be kind of a get together occasion. Now uh, have we updated this issue of greeting cards as well? No? Just right here, issue of greeting cards to friends, relatives, and clients. Now comes sponsoring activity. So sponsoring activity, do you think institute will allow you to sponsor to any sort of, suppose again a cricket event where you are sponsoring that event, and then after commentary man of the match is being sponsored by Chandak and Associates. Do you think institute will allow all these sponsoring activities for any
No,
event?
sir. No, it
No,
is
sir.
amount of
No,
solicitation.
right? It will tantamount to solicitation. So it is not permitted to sponsor an event. However, ICAI event, which is being approved by CPE Directorate, Continuing Professional Education Directorate. So CPE Directorate generally approves which events? The events in which the educational material is being provided to all the chartered accountants. You must be aware about chartered accountants that they have to adhere to CPERs. Do you know CPRs? Continuing professional educational hours. We have to comply if we have to like have our certificate of practice valid. So we have to comply with CPR. That is, we have to go to certain trainings which is done by ICI, and we have to mandatorily attend those trainings. So all these events which has been organized by ICI with the prior approval of CPE Directorate and conducted by POU, Program Organization Committee of the ICI, these events you can sponsor. These events you can sponsor because these are ICI events. More or less, who all will be coming? Chartered accountants only, right? Chartered accountants will only be coming, so you don't have anyone to solicit actually. Getting this? This is allowed. Just remember that event organized by program organization unit of ICI with the prior approval of CPE Directorate. This event you can sponsor. Clear? Similarly, CSR activity also, CA Institute members can sponsor CSR activity. Why? If institute will prohibit this, then government will come on the institute, right? CSR activity is allowed by the institute, provided one thing, that mentioning of the firm name or CA logo is not permitted. You cannot mention your firm name or CA logo there. For example, blood donation campaign sponsored by you, then you cannot, apart, just like below the blood, save earth, and save human beings, you will be writing there what? Chandak and Associates. No, that will be guilty of professional misconduct. So just here, add to the list in the not allowed. CSR activities sponsored. Firm name not allowed. CA logo is also not allowed. Clear? Yes, now comes my part. Do you think I can advertise about my teaching coaching activities by the members? Do you think they can? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Have you heard about other faculties cases?
Limited.
They got notice from institute. I won't tell the name, but in case you are advertising in a large scale manner, then definitely it will come into the eyes of institute. So advertisement is not allowed subject to certain regulation which is being allowed under regulation 190, where we will study in clause 11. I told you clause 11, remember what was that? With respect to other business or occupation, that CA in practice shall not engage himself into other business or occupation. But if I am engaging myself into teaching, whether this teaching is a business, is kind of a other occupation, yes or no? And I am engaging myself into teaching or business, then there are certain regulations specified by ICI. For example, you cannot teach for more than 25 hours per week. Yeah, sorry, 35 hours per week. 25 or 35 hours, we'll see there in clause 11. But that is what is stipulated by ICAI. If you are doing private tutorship, you cannot do more than this much hours per week, else you won't be able to focus on your core task, your practicing task, right? Similarly, if you want to write your coaching name, then you can write only in front of your classes, and that too only the name of the class, subjects that you taught, subjects that you teach, and the contact details, that only. So these are certain regulations which are stipulated by ICI. Apart from all this, if I start advertising elsewhere, in all the hoardings you start seeing about my coachings in all the roads and everywhere, in all the walls, then it will be guilty of professional misconduct, because it would be a violation of clause regulation 190 and clause 11 of part 1 of schedule 1. Clause 11, I will be held GPM or deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, as I will be deemed to be carrying out other engagement, other business occupation. Clear? So that is what is telling about advertisement of teaching and coaching activities. Just read this once. The members engage in teaching coaching activity while advertising. shall comply with regulation 190A clause 11. And why do you think they are not allowing you to advertise the same? Because also of the fact that this may tantamount to solicitation. How can this tantamount to solicitation? Again, advertisement of coaching and teaching activity. For example, suppose again I met Nikita's father, and Nikita's father came to me and told that I also run cotton business, cotton industry. So I told Nikita's father, oh, I am audit faculty. I teach audit. Now what will Nikita's father perceive me? Since he is teaching audit, then he'll do audit much more efficiently. So there could be an indirect solicitation. If I am communicating myself as a teacher or as a coaching activity, then there could be a sort of indirect solicitation, not only about my coaching, but could also be a solicitation for my professional work for my CA firm. So this is also therefore not allowed by any chartered accountants. Hence, members need to abstain from advertising their association with coaching teaching activities through hoardings, posters, banners, or by any other means. Subject to above provision, such member may put outside the coaching. Just see this. You can put outside the coaching teaching premises signboard mentioning what I told you. Mentioning, you can mention the name of the coaching, you can mention the contact details, and you can mention the subjects that you teach. Only this much details. Clear? As regard the size and type of signboard, you have to again follow the council guideline with respect to CAs. And the council guideline with respect to CAs, what does it say? That no glow sign boards are applicable, no big boards are applicable. Only that much size of board should be there which is clearly visible. Not too small, not too big. Glow sign boards not allowed. Similarly, same guidelines will be applied here for coaching premises as well. The board should be just outside the coaching premises. It should contain name, contact details, and subjects that I teach. Not even my firm name, not even other things. Clear? We'll just now, yeah, there are few of the clauses, and then we'll go to advertisement guidelines, which is at the last of the chapter, and then we'll be able to solve all these questions. So let's just finish off with the rest of the clause. Sharing firm profile with prospective client. Sharing firm profile with prospective client. Again, what I did, I forwarded my profile form. I forwarded my profile form to Nikita, and I told her to forward it to father because I know her father is in cotton industry, cotton. Therefore, I'll do what I perceive him as prospective client, and I forwarded my profile through Nikita through my prospective client. Now, this is not again allowed unless her father approaches me directly. So it is not permitted unless it is in response to a proposed client's specific inquiry. Unless it is from the client's inquiry only, then I can share my profile of the firm. Profile of the firm will be including what? Your number of articles, number of employees, years of experience, specialization, everything will be profile of your firm, right? So that you cannot share with anyone unless they start inquiring you. Clear? Yes or no? Then television or movie credit. What do you think? Can this be allowed? Have you watched in the last of the movie at the in the end or in the starting itself when they start giving movie credits? Have you watched like closely? They also specify a firm of CA who has done the audit of this entire production. I particularly remember of Bhul Bhulaiya. KC Mehta was the CA firm. Generally, it comes in the last, it comes who is the chartered accountant firm for this film. See, film production is a huge task, right? Producer is the only one who will be getting all the revenue, who will be putting up all his money. Not even director, everything. Director will get his salary, his remuneration, everyone will get their salary. Producer is the one who is producing the film. So entire production has to be audited. And this production which is being audited by chartered accountants, because this production also you will get income tax benefit. If you remember, there are certain sections you can get this tax deduction in the year of production, in the year of filming the screening the same, or in next year there was certain cases. So it has to be audited by CA, and then the firm of chartered accountant who does the audit will come in the movie. In this television and movie credits, you can get your movie credits, yes, but again, this should not happen. ठीक है? This should not happen. The font size should not be excessively large, or they should not be exaggerated, or anything sort of something which is differentiating you from other movie credits. The movie credits should be similar to what other credits they are giving for other fashion designing, makeup designing, everything should be same only. So while sharing name of the member or firm of chartered accountant for inclusion in the television or movie credits, it must be taken care that exhibition of the name is not made differentiately as compared to other entries in the credits. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Are we getting each and every point? You have to practically think, remember, practically foresee whether this should be allowed or not, then apply your mind and then think whether this is allowed or not. Then you will tend to retain. No, this is allowed, this is not allowed. And as I told you, professional ethics is easy to score because of the fact that it is easy to retain. You won't be forgetting this very easy. Yes or no? Specifically the way
Yes.
which we are going through. You have to first analyze and see should this be allowed or not, and then check. Now what do you think? Soliciting professional work by making roving inquiry, this we have already covered. Should this be allowed? Roving inquiry? Not. It is not allowed, right? Now comes section 140 subsection 4, scope of representation which an auditor is entitled to make under section 140 subsection 4. Do you any of you remember section 140 subsection 4 of Companies Act that dealt with removal of auditor before expiry of his term? Sorry, on the expiry of his term. Before expiry was covered under section 140 subsection 1. If on the expiry of the tenure of the auditor you are removing the name of the auditor, you are removing the auditor and appointing some other auditor, then section 140 subsection 4 was applicable, where special notice has to be done by the members and has to be forwarded to the AGM notice. Along with the AGM notice has to be forwarded to first of all the auditor, that why they are removing, and then auditor has the right of representation. Auditor can give his representation in writing to the company, and the representation that the auditor gives in writing to the company, this representation can be, has to be mandatorily has to be submitted along with AGM notice to all the members of the company. So this was the provision, if you remember, 140 subsection 4, where auditor has the right to represent himself, why he should not be removed as an auditor, or what all contributions he made as an auditor, how independently he acted, how diligently he did the audit. Thereby, he, if at all, the members or in the AGM want to appoint him as an auditor again, then he would be willing to be get appointed as an auditor again without any dissatisfaction. These all things can the auditor do? Yes. But if the auditor starts doing what, if the auditor starts exaggerating the things, that because of me your internal controls got improved, because of me I found so many fraud in the company, I found the controls malefficient, I found the controls to be improved, I did this, I did that, and therefore you should definitely think of appointing me only as an auditor, then this will not be allowed. This will not be allowed. This will tantamount to solicitation. So what is allowed? You can only specify that I acted independently throughout the course of my tenure as an auditor of 5 years. Throughout this course of 5 years, I acted independently, I acted with due diligence, and I did the audit in accordance with honesty and independence. And if at all the company is willing to get me as an auditor reappointed, then I am also willing to get myself as appointed as auditor. Clear? Just read this very important point. Many a times it's being asked by ICI. Scope of representation under section 140 subsection 4.